the ruling establishment has a lot of, they will stop at nothing to complete their toolkit of control. Right? So one of the things that has been missing from the toolkit of total control has been quarantines and curfews, right? Here's a document from the Rockefeller Foundation. Rockefeller Foundation right there. You can zoom in on that where my finger is. It's called Scenarios for the Future International Development, the Rockefeller Foundation. All right? Okay, let's take a look at what they're saying here. This is something like a 50, 60-page document. I'd like you to go to page 18, if you can look at this up on the internet, but I'll read it off to you. It's called lockstep, lockstep. And this is a phrase that I used right after 2001 when I saw the entire system of the United States, including the population, were in lockstep. So the Congress went along, and yes, it was Osama bin Laden, and the people waved their flag and said, I hate, 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 and everything was in lockstep. Well, in 2010, they published this, Rockefeller Foundation, and here's what they're saying. They're saying that they call it a scenario. These are scenario narratives, and they speak about it in the past tense. So they put out this scenario. Lockstep. A world of tighter, top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback. Okay, I'll read a little bit of it. In 2012, the pandemic that the world had been anticipating for years, nobody was anticipating a pandemic, finally hit. Unlike 2009's H1N1, this new influenza strain originating from wild geese, they use some scenario, but this is Ebola they're talking about. Even the most pandemic-prepared nations were quickly overwhelmed when the virus streaked around the world, infecting nearly 20% of the global population and killing 8 million in just 7 months. The majority of them healthy young adults. The pandemic also had a deadly effect on economies. You can see the agenda. Just naked, raw, naked control agenda written down, and it's anybody's guess how this becomes effectuated in real life. So whether this is written specifically as marching orders or whether people take it upon themselves in the intelligence networks to say, okay, well, this has been produced, so this is the plan here. But these narratives have to be written in advance because the intelligence agencies don't know how to do these narratives. They need help. So these think tanks, they come up with these like Rand Corporation, Rockefeller Foundation. These are think tanks of death. They're not think tanks. They're not there to find great ways to help people. Right? Okay. The pandemic also had a deadly effect on economics. International mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt. Which is what they want. They want a completely isolated world, right? Debilitating industries like tourism and breaking global supply chains. Well, of course they want tourism stopped because they're not in the tourism business, and they want you at home in your house in front of the TV. Then they got you. Because once you watch the TV, they own your soul. Even locally...
Wait a second, we're on television.
I mean commercial television, let's say. National. Even locally, normally bustling shops and offices sat empty for months. Okay, so I love how they talk about it in the past tense in 2010. The pandemic blanketed the planet, though disproportionate numbers in Africa died. Southeast Asia and Central America, where the virus spread like wildfire.
It sounds like the opening monologue of a disaster movie, right?
Exactly. Now listen to, here's the good stuff now. But even in developed countries, containment was a challenge. Now here's this one. I love this one. The United States' initial policy of strongly discouraging, in quotation marks, strongly discouraging citizens from flying proved deadly in its leniency. So they're saying, that...
No, keep going.
Okay,
Read it.
proved deadly in its leniency. So they should have been tougher, right? Accelerating the spread of the virus, not just within the United States, but across borders. However, a few countries did fare better. China in particular. The Chinese government's quick imposition and enforcement of mandatory quarantine for all citizens, as well as its instant and near hermetic sealing off of all borders, saved millions of lives, stopping the spread of virus far earlier than in other countries. So the message is here is we have to look towards the Chinese, the oppressive totalitarian Chinese regime as an example of what we need to be doing here. And of course, the ruling class here loves the Chinese regime because they have demonstrated to the ruling class the most efficient form of capitalism, which is authoritarian capitalism. So we have capitalism, but unfortunately we have this veil.
I get it.
We have this veil of democracy.
This is very interesting. This is continue on.
Okay. China's government was not the only one that took extreme measures to protect its citizens from risk and exposure. During the pandemic, national leaders around the world flexed their muscles, flexed their authority, and imposed airtight rules and restrictions. You can see the agenda.
Go.
Okay. From the mandatory wearing of face masks to body temperature checks at the entries to communal spaces like
that's what's happening right now.
Even after the pandemic faded, this more authoritarian control and oversight of citizens and their activities stuck and even intensified. That's the whole point. In order to protect themselves from the spread of increasingly global problems, from pandemics and national terrorism to environmental crisis and rising poverty, leaders around the world took a firmer grip on power. Well, what the hell would rising poverty have anything to do with imposing strict citizen controls with face masks? So they're very sloppy stuff here. At first, the notion of a more controlled world gained wide acceptance and approval. I'm sorry, nobody likes this stuff. So they're just saying it. I have to provide analysis.
Only because we only have 5 minutes left, so that's
oh my God, okay. Citizens willingly gave up some of their sovereignty and their privacy to more paternalistic states in exchange for greater safety and stability. I mean, that's just a complete naked contradiction to the famous saying that if you think you're going to give up a little bit of security, I mean, if you're going to give up your freedom for security, you're going to get neither. That's the long-standing thing. And here what they're doing is they're not even ashamed or embarrassed to absolutely say the exact opposite. They're saying, yes, we all want to give up our privacy and sovereignty for more stability and security and stability. So you don't get that. When you give it up like that, you get the shaft.
En 2010, la Fundación Rockefeller planteó un escenario de epidemia de virus en China y estado de sitio como el actual. Se sabe que Moderna, Incorporated, la empresa estadounidense que desarrollará la vacuna del coronavirus, está financiada por la Coalición para las Innovaciones de Preparación para Epidemias, CEPI, que fue fundada en Davos por la polémica Fundación Bill y Melinda Gates, el Wellcome Trust y el Foro Económico Mundial. Pero, además, hay otro dato aún más siniestro. En 2010, la Fundación Rockefeller publicó un documento titulado Escenarios para el futuro de la tecnología y el desarrollo internacional, en el que pronostica un mundo de control gubernamental de arriba hacia abajo, más estricto y con más liderazgo autoritario, con innovación limitada y rechazo ciudadano en crecimiento. escenarios descritos en el documento, bajo el nombre Lockstep/bloqueo, describe una China tomada por las fuerzas del orden y aplicando unas medidas extremadamente autoritarias y duras, a raíz de la propagación de un virus. Entre las medidas tomadas por el gobierno, aparecen reconocimiento facial y toma de temperatura a todo ciudadano en lugares y transportes públicos, control de desplazamientos y cuarentenas forzosas. En síntesis, un estado de sitio, similar al que vive China ahora mismo, en 2020. ¿Por qué una nación como China, que desafía el orden mundial totalitario de los Rockefeller y el Imperio Británico, querría instaurar un control de sitio como el que describe el documento? La hipótesis sobre el coronavirus como un arma biológica que forma parte de la política de despoblación mundial de la ONU, es cada vez más aceptada por científicos de prestigio internacional y analistas especializados en criptopolítica, quienes afirman que la epidemia de coronavirus es una operación de los servicios de inteligencia británicos lanzada contra la China industrialista de Xi Jinping. Lo cierto es que despoblando o industrializando el mundo, parece haber una tendencia común en China y Occidente a incrementar el control de la población a través de regímenes totalitarios. Por otro lado, tampoco olvidemos el papel que tendría una crisis epidémica global manufacturada para distraer a las masas y desgravar responsabilidades de cara al colapso económico planetario provocado por la propia oligarquía bancaria internacional. Lo que la élite busca en un nuevo mundo moderno, lo que facultaría la institución de un mayor control de los estados sobre las poblaciones basado en el miedo y el control social y sumisión por ignorancia debido a la pobreza mental y servilismo humano.